Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram language design review, part of our language completeness and consistency series. And I see our first topic is an important one about variables.
Yes. And
Okay.
I'm making a bad pun about Vatican II, hence hopefully no schisms will result. Um, this is how you know I'm the real Itai and not some body snatched version.
I don't know that history well enough.
So um,
Just for my historical, is Vatican II like last year, or was it in 100 AD or something?
so it's the 1960s.
Okay.
Uh, it's when they approved the use of the vernacular for the Mass, among other changes. And
Ah,
some Catholics were very upset and went off and set up their own uh, Vatican churches
hmm.
or Catholic churches.
Does anybody actually still speak Latin in their
Yes.
services?
In Vatican City,
Wow.
yes. I
Yes.
mean, I
Wow.
When the
saw
Pope when the
years
Pope
ago.
announced he was retiring, somebody in the one journalist could speak Latin, and they got an advantage because they didn't have to wait for the translations. They use their press releases come in Latin, so very useful if you're a journalist at the Vatican. So,
Wow.
right, sorry.
Years ago,
Thanks.
I remember seeing an ATM machine that was in Latin there, but maybe that was
Wow.
a tourist thing.
Wow.
Okay. So, okay. So the big idea here is something like E. You know,
Right.
how do you use that as a system symbol? And the idea is that one should be able to have something like, well, I mean, there are two questions. One is just a character like
Right.
variable E or something there.
Yes.
Um, Is that the right name, variable E, or should it be like symbol E or something? No, symbol E is silly because we've already got a symbol that's E.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure that variably is the greatest name, but I think it's better than a lot of alternatives.
Okay, so just to understand the UX here, what would happen is that when you type E, an autocomplete would show up that allows the possibility of,
Ugh.
you know what? This is my model.
I know I did it, but still, I just like, yeah.
Well, let me tell you why this
Yeah,
is so great.
right.
Okay?
Well, right. Well, right. This would be specific to those, 5, 6 letters, right? It wouldn't be.
Exactly. Right. So the whole point here is what is so great about this, Jason, I'm telling you what's great about something you built, is
Yes.
that the you type percent and I just type a return. Okay, I don't have to mouse anywhere, I just type return. And my
Mhm.
vision for this would be the same thing. You type an E, and most of the time you're just going on and we're typing whatever you're typing. But if you do want the E variable, it's very easy to get it. You just type a return.
Yeah.
And then, how do we display it? That's an interesting question. Whether we display it in some way that is, that's
Uh,
another, go ahead.
I was
uh,
going to just mention, just before we do, type in bel B of N and then do traditional form of that. Bel B of N. Yep. And then do Command Shift T on it to get the traditional form, and then do the exact same thing with Bernoulli B of N. Bernoulli B of N, and do the same thing again. And then type B subscript N in a new cell, and then do traditional form on that as well. And so all of those things sort of look the same. So we have a precedent, B subscript n, and then traditional form of that. So we have a traditional precedent for not distinguishing these things. And so this is a more general thing.
In traditional form. In traditional.
Indeed, in traditional form, yes.
Yes.
But this is not traditional form we're talking about.
True.
I mean, you know, our distinction with I, for example, right? We've got that and we've got that.
Mhm.
You know, this is a very old idea. This is a 30-year-old idea.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so let me make 2 points. One is that, yeah, I think our E will want to look a little different. Otherwise, we're making standard form ambiguous.
Right.
And my second point, I mean, I think I would be okay with, it popping up, but I think you'd want a little bit of a delay because, like, percent is not something you typically rapidly type, but elliptic is something you might regularly type.
I think this is something we have to play with. You're not obviously wrong, okay?
Mhm.
I just don't know. But let's talk about the E and the possibility that exponential E, I mean, because remember, this is turning into that.
Mhm.
You don't
I was just
see
about
the
to say that
output.
maybe, yeah, I was just saying that maybe if we're distinguishing, we shouldn't actually change E, but we should change the exponential, the capital E to be exponential E, the other way around. Yeah.
Like
Well,
actually change it or just render it, like have a new operator auto rendering or whatever
I
it
would
is.
be even changing it. It could be some sort of non-ligature ligature sort of thing, but yeah, I would even think of
no, I
actually
like
changing
the
it.
idea of using the auto operator thing so that when you type E, you type this capital E like this, and you keep going, blah, 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 blah. I mean, we could either turn it into the little e. I mean, well, let's just talk about that for a second. Let's say I do that, and that auto ligaturizes into this. Whoops, not that.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the reason I would say we probably want to make it a ligature as opposed to an actual replacement is, if you copy and paste that into whatever,
Good
you
point.
know.
Good point. Yeah, maybe. Yep. I can buy that.
I like that idea. I think that's a pretty good idea that we, because if I'm typing I, 4i plus 5 or something, for that to ligatate, not ligate, but something to this
Mhm.
seems pretty reasonable.
Mhm.
And then if you don't do that, it stays as a capital I.
Yep.
That's a pretty interesting idea.
That would also help potentially, if you were trying to type like x plus iy and you forget to put the space in,
Yes.
That's
that
true.
it would stay as capital I instead of turning into an imaginary I looking thing.
This is a good idea, guys. So let's look at the others here. Okay. Okay, so that sort of does it for E, I, C, and K, I believe.
Well, I mean, C and K don't have, uh, right. Like if you do C of N, then will typeset with sort of a nice C. But we don't have a character for C.
Okay, so what we're talking about, E and I, automatic ligaturation to this and the E staying as an E is a variable E, right?
Mhm.
So
Hang on. Are they different things?
then what?
The
The
Variable E is a proposed new character, is PUA character.
which
So if
is
you,
a new character.
the variable E,
Variable E will be
Variable E. It's a new character that looks like an E, but it has like it's a character, so it has a different full form and everything.
correct.
And I
Correct.
could type in / bracket variable E. Okay, and it's a different, Unicode point and everything.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay,
And if you,
that's fine. This is all fine.
Is it
Okay.
variable E or variable capital E?
That's a good
Yeah, I
question.
mean, right. If we want to be completely consistent with our naming conventions, it should be variable capital E.
That's really painful.
Yeah, but yeah, are you gonna?
Well, I really don't like the variable capital E because I think people are going to want to type it from time to time. And it's going to show up in pasted code, copied code and so on. Let's hold that off for a second. Okay, let's talk about
Wonder if we could just call it capital E.
oh, that's an interesting idea.
Because we have raw capital E, I believe, for or maybe we don't. Maybe that's you can.
What about the possibility of that?
I don't know about that. We certainly don't have any single name things. I would want John to opine, and unfortunately, he's had some emergency, so he might be listening, but I don't think he is capable of opining at the moment.
he did say to ping him. I can ping him on a separate channel. The one other question is, what is our alias for that? Our escape alias for our capital E, our variable?
Well, that could certainly be escape E escape, assuming that's not currently something.
It's capital epsilon.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't
I
worry
just
about it.
checked.
Nobody's ever going to type it, the escape alias, because there's a much easier way to get it.
I almost always enter it that way. I almost always enter all my, escape for alphas and everything else. I use it all the time.
No, I know you do for those, but for this capital E, there's going to be a much easier way to do it because it's in the autocomplete. I see John commenting, no strong opinion, read single letter, long names.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So let's keep going here because we've got many letters to discuss, so to speak.
Yeah.
We've also got the possibility for consistency of doing this with every single letter, capital letter.
We could, but that just feels like busy work.
Okay, fine. All right, let's talk about capital N. I mean, you never see it in output, except in a piece of code, except unevaluated in a piece of code. So I'm not. Now, I mean, I also think where's natural numbers? Well, I mean, like reals is that, but there isn't a natural numbers. Is that true?
The natural numbers is positive integers.
So there's no n. There's no double struck n.
No.
Okay. So this case, it's kind of like n would then come up with an autocomplete there with a delay, I admit. And, I think that's the only thing we could do. And I mean, I don't think there's a lot of choice. It would just be an n that's there. It's a little bit, I don't know. Do anybody want to make a comment about that? If I say, n squared plus 1 or something, and that's a variable n, Now we could do something with a mouse over here, like this. Here would be different for a variable n. Am I making sense?
Well, n squared plus 1 just works right now. I mean, if you evaluate n squared plus 1, it'll just it's a variable.
I know, but n equals 1 certainly doesn't work.
Right.
And if you try to block it, it is bad.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, look, with n, I think we just try and do the autocomplete, and in this, if it is a variable n, it would come up with something different, or possibly would have some other mouse over behavior. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So, sorry, can I just ask a question? We are changing the like with E, we're changing the behavior. So if you see an E, from now on, it's going to be different. It's not going to be the exponential bit.
No, Tom. No.
Maybe I'm confused then. Or is the
Yes,
variable...
you are confused. You got to think more. You got to be more careful here. Okay.
Right.
If I see an E in input, okay, like this, right? So, okay, look, in output, it's always been that.
Yeah, fine. I'm talking about input.
Okay.
Well, in standard form, it has always been that.
I'm talking about input standard form, yes. So if I see an E in standard form input, is that the exponential base or is that the variable capital E?
It'll almost be the variable E, because the standard one will be ligaturized.
It'll depend on the value of auto
Ligaturization. Yes,
yeah, okay,
exactly.
but assume that people don't switch off the ligaturization.
Right.
Couldn't we make
and which, for example, we do in the documentation, because the documentation documents how to type things in, and if you if you type in
Right. Look, there are clearly details here. So another possibility is...
That's the question. So sorry, I'm worried that it's going to be confusing to people. Shouldn't we make the variables look a bit different from the
talked about that? Yeah, we just talked about that. I mean,
so
possibly yes, but I don't think our formal
yes.
variables thing has been terribly successful. I don't think that's been terribly successful.
Well, maybe it was hard to enter them. This is easier way of entering them, which is good.
Well, we don't want these to be formal variables, right? Because we want
no, we don't. We definitely don't.
Because we want to assign to them. But
yes.
Right, but yes, I mean
this is actually going in the opposite direction. This is like informalization.
Right.
Yes.
Right, but
it's a separate issue whether we should allow the possibility when you type an A of having some autocomplete that gives you the formal A.
Ugh.
Well,
there's a lot of clutter, and so I mean, they can get the formal A if they need to. I mean, in the particular cases they do.
As a user of these things, I don't use it. It's a big pain in the neck. I have functions that unformalize things from the axiomatic theory subsystem, for example, because it's such a pain to type formal variables.
Right. Well, this wouldn't be, I think that, right. I mean, this would be, type thing in, wait for the thing to appear, hit enter. It would be just as slow, if not slower.
Well, I don't know. It's conceptually not slower.
So John just weighed in, and he said he's not in favor of completions of a single type letter in the general case. I'm with him on that. Yeah, I just too much cruft.
Okay, let's take that to user assistance, that particular issue, because I think there may be a thing we could do that isn't problematic. I just don't know what it is.
Right. Well, but let me, Stephen, let me make the point that, I mean, I think maybe part of the reason, formal variables haven't been super successful is because they're not super discoverable. So, we're sort of solving the discoverability of these. Right. And right. I don't think it's the appearance that made formal variables not super successful. It's the lack of discoverability
and the difficulty of typing them in.
Right. So if we solve those things, we can absolutely make, capital E, look ever so different from E, and that way we have a consistent story for all of the,
Fair enough. Okay, so let's see if we can annotate the E slightly in the case where it becomes a variable E. But can
Yep.
we talk about the other ones of these here?
Sure.
So I mean, the C, for example, we would do the same thing. We would bring up an autocomplete to turn it into a variable C, even though you
Yep.
don't strictly need to.
Correct.
And similarly, probably N.
Yep.
Okay, and by having them slightly different in appearance, we don't have any problem if you see an N in code.
Yep.
I mean, the only thing that's a little weird is, let's say I type A, B, C. Okay, and now the C looks a bit different. That's a little weird.
It is.
I mean, I would lean toward having them, look the same, but maybe that's just me.
I would too as well.
I mean, the other thing that I'll mention is that until you assign to it, that would be a blue C, not a black one.
That's a good point.
Yeah, maybe. Well, okay, maybe that's enough.
That's a good point. And if you're using it as a variable, like N as a variable, it will be blue, unless it's in a style where it's black anyway.
Or you're using it as an iterator, and then it's whatever color,
Green.
and italic, or who knows.
Yeah. Well, I like this. I mean, we're probably going to get some more weird cases, like an N used as an iterator. There may be some cases where we can redden things in the syntax colorer, where we have a mismatch between an N in a body and an N in an iterator. I must say that I favor variable E.
Okay.
Well, actually, in the iterator case, one of the ends would be styled and one of them would still just be black.
That's true. Although, or possibly this backslash bracket E. Because if we do that, we really have cleared things for any subsequent. Now, let's try that. Let's see if that's a possibility. Backslash bracket E.
I don't like that, and right there, that means it means you can't type the brackets and then type anything in other than an E, right? That would immediately collapse. I know maybe that's just me, but
there is a bug on that that we want to, but it hasn't been fixed. But yeah.
The truth is that escape, capital E escape, which turns into the not very useful capital epsilon. Escape and escape will be a capital nu.
Yeah. I mean, I think the consistent thing would be to just add a capital V to all of these, or a space. I mean, the other thing we could do is a space, right? I don't think that any of those are used.
What are you suggesting? A space capital E?
Escape E space escape is one possibility, or escape EV escape.
What's the V?
For variable.
Oh, I see. For the short name.
Yes.
I mean, I would have thought just VE is fine.
Oh,
but
VE.
I mean, look, the short names I think can be subject to change. It's not. I don't think anybody's ever going to use this short name. I think they're going to use the autocomplete. Okay, well, I think we should go ahead and try and implement these things. We'll find some issues as we do it. We should probably pick this up in the user assistance meeting. Now, let's talk about subscripts. Okay. which I think is a hairier business. I mean, we basically want to be able to have x min or something as a variable. Not making sense. Like if I type in x min, I would love to have an autocomplete that offers me a symbol of quotes x sub min. Oops.
Sure, you can do that with the notation package right now. So if you want to, we could do it live if you want. Notation backtick, yep. And then with that thing, click on the symbol or type escape sim escape, whichever one. That's on the right hand, there's a little palette there, or type SYMB escape, yep. Escape, SYMB escape.
On the little palette, I didn't see it.
Yep. So you could click on the symbolize if you want, or escape, SYMB escape, whichever of those.
Wait a minute.
You can't just type it in directly. You're going to need it. Yep. Escape. Yep. And then type x min in there. X subscript min.
As a not as a string.
Correct.
Yeah, just as a control underscore right now. Yep. Min and hit shift return. Yep. And now if you type x min in a new cell.
Wait. Oh.
Well, you've already entered it once, and then type it in a new cell. Type x min, x underscore.
Control underscore min.
Yep, and then
now
do a / full form on that, and you'll see it's a symbol, or do a symbol Q. Yep. So just like in C or C++, it's sort of auto mangling the boxes. The boxes, of course, are a subscript box of x comma min, and so this is getting a linearized sort of mangled form of that is just represented in the symbol. And so then you can use that in desolve and some of the other things you could assign to it or whatever. Yeah. Okay. But it's changed the notation rules, or just basically the make expression, make boxes rules, so that forever now in your session is now symbolized in that sense. You can't, do a / x goes to 3 or something on it.
Right, and that's some completely unrelated thing, right?
Yes, that's unrelated. Do the head x sub min head.
Right. It had better
Type it in,
be.
don't paste
symbol.
it. Type it in. Yeah. Symbol.
Right.
Put it as a module variable.
I'm sure it works. This is it.
Yeah.
It's just a named symbol.
Yes, exactly.
And the formatting rules have been changed to deal with that. But what I'd like to see is something where this can be used as a name of a symbol.
Why?
Because I want this to just work without this weird statefulness of symbolizing things.
Well,
right. How do you put it in a package code, for example?
Well, I mean, that's why we're talking about it.
Yep, exactly. I'm just supporting your question.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I mean, to me, I'm asking the question whether this, which could have some other syntax as well, whether this, if we allowed this, I mean, there's nothing about the symbol table that makes us not want to use a string like this in the symbol table, is there?
No, you're correct.
Well, I mean,
it's only input and output that cares. It's just a string of. Sorry, Itai. But there are some issues with like lexicalization and stuff. But
well, I mean, so what I'm saying is, if this, or possibly some syntactic thing around this, I mean, just to.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Right, but now that's a string, right? That doesn't look like. I mean,
that's the name of a symbol. It's not a symbol. It's the name of a symbol.
Like symbol name of X is a string. Actually,
right.
What does symbol name of that thing do?
It doesn't work. I mean, symbol name of this thing up here
should return that thing.
Will return that
string. Yeah.
Right, with its under brackets. Right. So, I mean, my point here is,
Right. Well, right. Well, I mean, I mean, right. You know, linear syntax can be arbitrary boxes, right? Do you want to allow arbitrary boxes in your symbol name?
that's what I'm suggesting.
That right. And then what do you do with this? I guess is my question.
It just sits there as a blob that can be, so that means if you've got a picture of an elephant, you could differentiate, you could set the picture of an elephant equal to something if it is a symbolized elephant.
What made it symbolized is my
Okay,
point.
because here's the thing. It's just symbol of quotes, blah, 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 right? That becomes a symbol, right? And all we're saying is
Wait. Where's the image? Where's the image of the elephant?
the image of the elephant went in here, just like this X-Men, and what came out was a thing that looks, but it might have some annotation. It might be, but it basically looks like an X-Men with some kind of boxing in some way to indicate that it is a symbolized X-Men.
That's
This isn't enough,
that's
though. This
crazy.
is nowhere near enough. Sorry, but it's not. How do you have to create these things by evaluation?
No. The whole point is to have an autocomplete that creates them in certain cases.
I
So,
don't
for
think it's
example,
autocomplete. I think
what's
it's a
that?
parser rule. I think it's a parser rule.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just this turns into, that would have an autocomplete suggestion that is this X-Men with its little box around it to indicate that it's a symbolized
Well,
X-Men.
first of all, that's completely insane. Just the fact that you typed in this 4 characters XMIN brings up an autocomplete for this. That's, I think, absolutely
I
insane.
don't think it's insane. The whole point is what we've
absolutely that is absolutely insane.
I
It is, Stephen.
I
It is,
appreciate
Stephen.
your immediate response. I don't think it is insane.
It is.
I mean,
It is absolutely insane. I mean,
okay, but look, this brings up resource function, okay? In other words, one thing that has been quite successful is this fuzzy autocomplete mechanism.
Well, first of all, that doesn't bring up resource function for me.
What do you mean? Well, you've got some other thing loaded, perhaps.
No, it's because I don't. I insist on case sensitive matching.
Okay,
but
but this has been successful as far as I'm concerned. It's not confusing and it's very useful.
Yes, because there's a finite set to match against.
I understand, and maybe
so in
this
a
is
clean
the same
section,
thing.
why would XMIN bring up anything?
So I just wanted to interject here. John has texted me and he said $min is possibly what he's suggesting. I still don't like the idea, but
well, it's an interesting idea. But yes, that's what, I mean, yeah, John, yeah. The principle is
right. Well, but
yeah.
I mean, maybe there's an autocomplete thing, right? But right, these are. I mean, I guess you're talking about something not typable. But if we're talking about something not typable, I don't understand why we need to hack the symbol table, right? You can just do interpretation of your picture of an elephant X, and then that output you can copy and paste wherever you want it, and it's
no. But what is the interpretation? I want it to be a symbol. I don't want to have to name
it.
It
is a symbol. It is a symbol.
What do you mean?
Type interpretation and interpretation and put in your picture of an elephant.
Okay, whatever. I'm gonna make it the picture of the elephant here. Okay. Okay, there we go. There's the elephant. Now what?
And comma X or whatever.
No. That's the part I'm objecting to. I don't want to have to type comma X. I want that thing to be a symbol. I want, it could be a UUID there if you want it to be. I don't care. But although I would prefer it to be something that just includes the elephant. Right? So
Right,
I agree.
well, right. Well, but my point is, how are you ever going to type that in?
With autocomplete.
Unless you know what the full form of that elephant is, how are you ever going to?
Where's the X here? I don't
Oh,
understand.
did I get the? Maybe I got the argument order backwards. Maybe.
I think so, yes. I don't understand what this is now.
Right.
If I type in,
Or
oh, whatever. Whatever. Is this the wrong way around? Jason, is this the wrong way
no,
around?
it wasn't. No, so
This is the eType function.
no. This is so it was right the first time. Did you not Oh, right. You need to copy the output and use it as
I
input.
did. I copied that output. I put it in. There's my output elephant, and I just keep on getting elephants all the way down.
Head of it. Use it.
It's
No,
going to
okay,
be
so
image.
that's
I'm going to tell you it's going to be image.
yeah, no, okay. Well, I am confused because that should have worked. So I don't know if what happens if you clear X? Let me
I'm very confused by this.
displays as Z, but then interprets as expr. Yeah.
I'm very
So,
confused by this. That should have worked, in my view.
Yeah, that
Well,
absolutely should have worked according to the documentation. So I don't know what's happening here, but maybe there's some bug somewhere, or
okay. In any case, doesn't matter. But my point is, what I'm trying to suggest is that you just be able to package up the elephant, so to speak, and treat it as a symbol whose name
what does
happens
that
to
mean? How do you type that thing in?
If you needed to type it, you would type it as symbol of the elephant. You type this. You type symbol and then the elephant.
And what's the input form of the symbol?
Well, it could be. I think it has to be something that is a modified version of that string. Okay. I think we have to add.
The parser knows about to make a symbol from it.
That's correct.
It has to be in the parser. It can't be.
Yes, I agree. It has to be in the parser. And it has to be something which instead of backslash exclam, it's some other thing. Backslash question mark or something. I don't know what.
I think it should just have full form of the boxes. None of this.
Probably so, but it's got to be. It could be the full form of the boxes in a. Again, what we're trying. It doesn't matter. That's another detail, right? But there's some syntactic form which could be quite messy. That is, although the less messy the better. That is.
Right, but for example, what if I then just use the picture somewhere, not the output of symbol,
then it has nothing to do with this. Then it's just the picture of an elephant. There's no. It's not
okay.
symbolized.
So it's not okay.
And now what I'm suggesting
is
right.
So you then can't just type it in. Right?
No. I'm suggesting the following. I'm suggesting that the symbolized thing comes out with some annotation, some border around it or something that you can then pick up, copy, and paste somewhere else.
Okay, well, that sounds like a new one argument version of interpretation.
Yes, it probably is.
Where it auto generates a unique variable for you.
Well, and it's a symbol because interpretation can be anything.
Sure, right, including a symbol.
Right, but I mean that's fine. But I mean implementation, that might be how it works. But what I'm suggesting is that and again, I haven't thought this all through, but I think it would be really nice for things like xmin, which is a very common thing to want to use. Right? There are not that many, xmin, ymin, zmin maybe, but you're not going to say omin. That's not a thing you type very much, right? There are some particular things like x plus or something, maybe, I don't know what. There are some modest number of these things where having them as autocompletes I think would be convenient. We're not going to have an autocomplete for the elephant because that's not a common thing. So, that's my suggestion, and that we, it does need some thought, but the whole point is that then once it is a symbol with head symbol, every other function in the system is going to work just fine. And serializing it out, it will be something that we have to think it through that's a version of something like this. I'm very excited about this. This is a problem we tried to solve in version 3.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, well, I guess we can take a look at this, but I think Tom's wrong. I think there are assumptions in the search all over the kernel that symbol names are, valid symbol names and not crazy things with operators and spaces in them.
Well, I might be wrong, Itai.
But
let's try to find out.
But
well, we can just.
But I also, I mean, if the point is that we need the decoration around the thing, then I don't see why we need to create this crazy name. It can just be, right. We can have a standard, and right. It can just, right. Does it matter what the actual name is? Maybe for autocomplete. But so maybe a small number of these can have specific names. But
I don't understand what you're saying, specific names. I mean, it matters for serialization that there is an ASCII form of it.
Well, we could use like X underbar.
But if it's a decorated thing, then there's nothing to serialize. There's just whatever is the variable, right? If you're serializing it in the notebook, then
But you're not getting it. There is no underlying variable. The underlying variable is this thing. It's X min.
But no. You said it has to be decorated. So
no, I'm saying for output it will be decorated, just so that you can tell.
But no. You said you couldn't type it in.
Okay, if I type in X sub min, it is just going to be subscript X min.
Yep.
Okay. It is not going to be a symbol. That thing has head. If I do full form.
Yes, trust me, Stephen. Because you symbolized
Why men, Stephen?
Yes, I understand that. I understand that.
Trust me, Stephen. I understand that point much better than you do, Stephen.
Which point?
What the box, what the interpretation of this is.
Yes. Right. Okay. So what's your point now?
No. All right. So you've created this variable elephant.
Yes.
How do you type that in?
Wait, let's say I've created this variable. I've turned this into a symbol.
How have you turned that into a symbol?
By typing symbol of y sub min.
I mean, right? That's
and the
not
return value.
That's not actually going to work.
I know it's not going to work now, but
no.
Saying,
but no. It can, that right. That
I'm sorry. That I mistyped this. What I want is this. What I mean is this. Okay. That turns into a symbolized version of that visual appearance thing. And then
I'm gonna muddy the waters just a little bit. As you know, the equal bracket, type A plus equal bracket, and then you can type sort of whatever you want inside that kind of thing. We can possibly in the parser change, so inside there you can type in all sorts of junk, right? And so we could actually possibly put in a different parsing mode for symbol, that anything between the symbol brackets is you don't actually need the quotes around it and some of the other stuff. So we could extend things so that symbol open bracket.
Okay, that's an extra level of insanity, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about this. I'm talking about this returns an object that might be something like, it might appear, not really, but something vaguely like that. Okay, more beautifully presented.
Okay.
And that then becomes a thing that you can use as a symbol wherever you want. And the way you get it is you copy paste it. You can also get it as an autocomplete, probably for ymin. In this case, as one of the autocompletes, is this visually appearing, boxed, symbolized object.
Right. So my point is, if you need to then copy and paste that thing to use it, then it's not something you can type in. Right. It didn't matter.
No, you can't. Okay. Yes, you can't. I don't know of a way you type it in to get the final thing without evaluation. In other words, you can get this and you can type evaluate in place and then you get it.
Right. At which point my claim is it doesn't really matter what, whether there's a variable associated to it or not, right? If there's some canonical way.
Well, okay, that's an implementation question. I think it's important that if you serialize it, and this is where the parsing form comes in, I think probably I'm going to retract my you can't type it in. I think there has to be a serialized form that does not require evaluation that turns into this thing. That is similar to this serialized form here. Okay, let me make a comment and then we need to wrap because I'm trying to stay on time here.
Okay.
We worked on this. I remember we had a 10-hour meeting about this in the run-up to version 3. We almost put in, Tom, you might remember, you were there.
I remember different versions of this and implementing other crazy, worse ideas. So, right.
Right. But the whole point is, the thing we've learnt in, how long is it? Oh my God, it's
29 years since.
What's that?
It's 29, just a bit under 30 years since version 3.
Oh my gosh, okay. So we've learned a certain amount in 30 years. In particular, the whole front-end autocomplete world is completely new, and I think that's what saves us here. So let's go. Whatever you do with the chestnut, roast this chestnut or something. I don't know what old chestnuts. What old chestnuts become old because they get dried out and very, very hard. Is that right?
So
No.
I just wanted to say, John is asked, do we feel it's important to solve the general problem, or are we willing to specialize a bit for subscripts specifically? There might be more interesting things we can do if we're willing to specialize.
We might be willing to specialize the subscripts and superscripts and things like that to the things that we get to by. I'm not sure we do need to solve the general problem. I'm not sure we do need to solve the problem with elephants and things. I think the elephant
because if you really want to use an elephant as like I said, I mean, modulo whatever bug you encountered here, right? If you really want to use an elephant variable, you can just use a picture interpretation with unique and a picture of an elephant, and you.
Honestly, I've never wanted to use an elephant as a variable. Or even something.
I've used, well, maybe I don't know that I've certainly used like emoji as variables. I'm not sure if I've ever used a graphics, but I could imagine using a graphics as a variable in certain contexts. But like I said, I'm perfectly content.
I don't think it has to be an L value symbol type variable. I think that's surplus to requirements.
So John also said he has a potential idea on how to expand on this.
Right,
that might be.
We can't do this by multi-layer telephone. So
the other comment I was going to make.
Forward to continuing. Yes, go ahead.
Sure. Was that a lot of the time you'll use things like E0 for energy, naught or something else like that, and you'll solve for some of those kinds of things. So there'll be things that don't fit this pattern, in which case, the notation packages probably be the sort of go-to.
I'm sorry, what doesn't fit this pattern? E0, E0 or E0 or something.
Yes, well, that doesn't fit the like $min or something else like that. It's not something that's common or maybe it's common enough that you're going to try and put in some.
This is very common, but we're not. Look, again, we're making a bunch of heuristics. We can easily figure out what the common subscripted variables are easily.
So I thought that we were going to have a table like input order replacements would be like X-min, Y-min.
Okay, so here's a question: is RF or TF is that something that brings up the autocomplete?
Yeah, there it is.
No. For subscript, I mean.
TF?
Yeah.
Why would
T final? I use that all the time, right? TI and
cool.
TF versus, you know, T naught and T or
Oh, I
whatever.
see. T initial, T final. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's a heuristic, whether those things are considered important enough to be part of the autocomplete. I mean, that's what, again, you know, in 30 years, 29 years or whatever, we also learnt about natural language understanding from Wolfram Alpha. And when we started doing Wolfram Alpha, we were incredibly afraid of heuristics. But then we made a whole system based on heuristics, and it turns out it works very well. And I see from our live stream a comment asking me with a question mark, you've never used a cat as a variable. And I think that's a signal that we need to wrap this meeting and continue, and John can be part of this meeting going forward. But I believe we have made some progress.
Yeah. Well,
So,
of course you should use a cat as a variable. I mean, you know.
why not? Okay, this is a really good topic. Let's continue it next time and try and make sure we and see if we can nail it. I think it'd be great if Noah is able to join us also.
Okay, so yeah, and you know, like I said, no, John was supposed to be here, but
Yeah, I know, some glitch.
and
Okay.
and we'll add Noah for next time. So
Sounds good. All right, look forward to it. See you all
Cheers,
soon.
guys.